the Way, the Breast Cancer Awareness Candle event Monday, October 20th at 6 p.m. at the Philly Street Candle Bar. You and the team will be there talking about breast cancer and everything surrounding it. It's a changing diagnosis, isn't it? For
it
breast
is,
cancer?
and it's unfortunately we're seeing it in younger women too, and so it's even more important to get that word out there about becoming more and more aware of breast cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the basics. Breast cancer can be a very, very devastating disease. It takes lives, and that's the bald fact of it. But there are new treatments. There are new manners of detecting it, and this fight is going to go on until it's finally won.
Right. Yeah. And breast cancer is the number one diagnosis of cancer among all women in the United States. It beats out colon cancer and lung cancer. But the good news is it's not the number one killer anymore. Lung cancer has taken that spot. But breast cancer, we have more survivors nowadays than people succumbing to breast cancer because of all the advances in treatment and also the early detection. Like all cancers, the earlier we detect it, the better the outcome. If we have a stage 1 breast cancer, it's 90 to 95% survival rate at 10 years. In cancer care, we get away from saying cure, but we talk about cancer-free survival. But that's pretty darn good. You're going to pass away from other causes, is the hope with this.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with detection. Because that is a field that is just expanding, and the help that it provides for you to be able to detect breast cancer early is immeasurable.
Right. And over the years, there's been confusing information put out there about when to get a mammogram. The government, unfortunately, with the United States Preventive Strike Task Force, came out with some confusing recommendations 10 or so years ago, and they just came back last year, I believe it was, or the year before, saying, oops, we were wrong. But they didn't publicize that as much as they did when they first came out with their incorrect recommendations. The recommendations, these are strong recommendations for a woman of average risk. You need to start getting your mammograms at age 40, and yearly thereafter. Mammograms being done at the age 40 have had the highest impact on breast cancer survival. Since the onset of mammograms and the screening in that age group, we've decreased the mortality or death rate in women between the ages of 40 and 50 with breast cancer more than any other age group. So it's real critical to start your mammograms beginning in your 40s.
Now, you use the term average risk.
Right.
There are some whose risk is more than average.
Correct. If you have a family history of breast cancer, that should be a point that you look at and say, okay, how old was the first patient or first family member with breast cancer? If somebody had breast cancer in the family, we recommend starting mammograms 10 years younger than the youngest person in the family. However, the caveat to that is that you don't get mammograms before the age of 30. Mammogram in 20-year-olds is relatively useless because the breasts are so dense that a normal mammogram means nothing in your 20s. So we do other screenings in that high-risk population, basically breast MRIs in your 20s, not mammograms.
I know a young lady who is just entering her late 20s, who is in stage 4, and it doesn't look like she's going to survive. So the difficulty in diagnosing it in people who are that young and younger must be very frustrating for guys like you.
Well, it is, and what you pointed out, if somebody is getting breast cancer in their 20s versus somebody getting breast cancer in their 70s, they're two different types of breast cancers. Breast cancers in the younger women are more aggressive and are a more angry form of breast cancer than those that, take till your 70th decade to develop. So those tend to be more aggressive breast cancers. So, if you have a family history of somebody in their 20s with breast cancer, that screams a potential genetic link to that. And, we do the genetic counseling in our comprehensive breast center, myself and Dr. Bill Amoria. That's one of the big news items is Dr. Bill Amoria went through all the training and certification, and she is now certified to do genetic counseling for breast cancer as well. So we've expanded our genetics program as well. But that's the type of thing we need to look at, that if you have a family history of somebody under the age of 50 with breast cancer, about 20 to 25% of those patients will have a genetic mutation that caused that. But like I said, it's only 20 to 25. There's still, 75 to 80% of all breast cancers have no genetic link.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned mammography. 3D mammography is available at IRMC in several locations.
Right.
You also mentioned a breast MRI. Mm-hmm. What is the difference?
Well, mammography is an X-ray of your breast, and so we also look, with mammography. It is the number one test. That's where we start. We don't replace mammography with anything else. Mammography still detects more breast cancers than any other modality out there, MRI, ultrasound, anything like that. So mammography is the beginning test, if you're over the age of 30. However, mammography, it depends on the density of your breast, we now know as well. Now you get a breast density rating on your mammogram 1 through 4, 1 being fatty replaced, 2 being scattered fibroglandular, which is an average density, 3 being heterogeneously dense, which is increased density, and 4 being extremely dense, which is very dense breast tissue. As the breast gets more dense, it becomes whiter on x-ray. And I always tell patients, if you ever see a bone on x-ray, it's so dense, it's bright white. Mm-hmm. Well, that's more fibrous tissue in the breast. So the more fibrous tissue in the breast, the denser they are, the whiter it is on mammogram. And as you know, my wife's the breast radiologist, and she always says with dense breasts, it's like looking for a snowball in a snowstorm because cancers typically show up white on a mammogram. So the more dense breast you are, we supplement screening beyond mammogram, but mammogram is still the number one test.
Mm-hmm. So the bottom line is find your way, get to your doctor and get whatever tests are recommended to detect or to rule out breast cancer. And that's a regular thing.
Right.
If you're having your mammogram next week, if you're going to Mammo Monday at IRMC, which is you don't need an appointment, just walk in. If you're going to that, when is the next time then that you would need to go for another mammogram?
Well, mammograms are on a yearly basis from age 40 for life. There's some debate out there over age 70, should you stop getting a mammogram? The problem with that is your breast cancer risk does not decrease as you get older. It increases as you get older. The longer a woman lives, the higher her risk of breast cancer. So it's an oxymoron to say stop getting mammograms after age 70. It says you should have a discussion with your doctor as to whether or not you should continue or not. Well, if you have a life expectancy of 5 years, then you should have a mammogram because we can go in and do a simple lumpectomy, take a small little cancer out, and you could be done with it. There's advances in the treatment, there's advances in recognition of some low-grade breast cancers that if we just excise them, you may not even need any further treatment beyond that. So our knowledge base of what actually needs radiation, what actually needs any additional treatment beyond surgery is a lot different. And a lumpectomy is an outpatient biopsy. So it's a simple procedure to have done to get that cancer out of your breast. So it blows our minds that the recommendations are, consider not having mammograms after the age of 70 because the risk factors continue till the day you die.
Yeah. Through the course of the month of October, we'll talk about treatments and many of the other things, issues surrounding breast cancer. But you mentioned lumpectomy. That's one of the treatments that you might, a road that you might end up going down based upon your doctor's recommendation and everything that is involved with that. But the team at IRMC that handles you once that breast cancer diagnosis comes in is, I said before, it's an amazing group of people. They are so darn dedicated. And you've got just a great team assembled and working with the Hillman Center there at IRMC. It's top notch, and it's right here in Indiana.
Right. With our affiliation with the Hillman Cancer Center, every research protocol that's available downtown is available at Indiana. They're right across the parking lot from my office. We have excellent Hillman employed oncologists and radiation oncologists, and their nurses are fantastic over there. So every protocol and every treatment that you can get at Hillman Cancer Center downtown is available on campus. And, a lot of people, they get the diagnosis and, they hear from friends and family, oh, you need to go downtown to McGee. It's not McGee, you're going to Hillman. Hillman runs the protocols for McGee Hospital. So we have Hillman on campus. So every protocol that McGee has, we have. And so it's been a great advancement to have that. It's one of the top breast centers in the country, if not the world. So we have that available with that right here on campus.
It's an exciting prospect of watching the breast cancer program develop at IRMC, and you see it every day. But we see it in snapshots. Here's the month of October, and the last we talked with you extensively on the subject was last October. So in that intervening year, I would assume that from your standpoint, there have been some pretty exciting developments.
There have been, and the biggest thing, the biggest push is on early detection, but also modifying risk factors. A lot of data has come out in the last couple years about what you can do personally to modify your risk of breast cancer. We know that obesity increases your risk of breast cancer, having an elevated BMI. So weight loss helps decrease that risk. That also increases your risk for colon cancer as well. But independent of BMI, regular exercise actually will decrease your risk of cancer. So getting out 3 to 4 times a week with some moderate exercise will actually decrease your risk. Dietary changes. I just listened to you talking about the recommendations from the 80s in our dietary and how they were pushing soy products back in the 80s. No, don't eat soy products. Soy acts as an artificial estrogen in your body. So you should look at the ingredients, and if soy is in the top 3, that's not a good thing if you have a risk for breast cancer. So soy is not necessarily a really healthy product out there. We know that low-fat diets are a big issue or a big help with breast cancer as well. And we have free referrals to our dietitian. If you have a diagnosis of breast cancer, one of the things we offer is a free referral to our dietitian. The other things we've developed with our social workers, that if you have any barriers to care, from rides, shuttles, we have these Love of Life events, and there's a big oncology golfing event coming out. The foundation here, the IRMC Healthcare Foundation, supports our cancer care network unbelievably. I've never seen it to this level anywhere I've been in my career. And they have free shuttles, free driving. If you need help to get in for your treatments, you need help to get in for your appointments, there's free shuttle service. So our social worker meets with every newly diagnosed breast cancer and all cancers to sit down with them and see, do you need any help with anything and such. So we've really expanded the reach of our breast cancer network.
Yeah, it's amazing. Dr. Dan Clark has been our guest here this morning, just kicking off what will be an extensive conversation on breast cancer all through the month of October. We want to remind you again, the Thrive in 2025 event, the Light the Way Breast Cancer Awareness Candle event at the Philly Street Candle Bar, Monday, October 20th, 6 p.m., and you'll be there along with the entire team. You're going to make a candle?
I probably will. We did one a couple years ago. I made a candle.
Did you?
Back then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah, I'd love to. I haven't burned it. I just love the smell of it. It sits on my desk in the office. So.
But you and the team will be there. You'll learn about early detection, screening, nutrition, the support services available, just as he's been telling us this morning. You can go to irmc.org/2025. There's a QR code. You can register that way or give a call to 724-357-7188. Dr. Clark, thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. One last little shout out. The Love of Life 5K is coming up on October 18th as well. You can go online and register for that, and the funds from that go to the breast center.
Yeah, and run it or walk it, even do the 1 mile fun walk, however you want to do, just participate. Just go and support them there and be amazed by this tremendous group of folks who are there for breast cancer and the battle against it being waged at IRMC. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's Indiana in the Morning on WCCS.